Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to the Discourse for today, January 12th, 2024. Sorry, my glasses are a little bit foggy. I just did a kind of intense workout a few minutes before starting the stream. Hello! And then I had some frustration because YouTube changed my streaming key on me. Anyways, hi! I'm Tristan. I'm the host of the YouTube channel Step Back, which you're watching this on right now at stepbackhistory.com. But I also am the co-host of the podcast It's Probably Not Aliens at probsnotaliens.com. And I am streaming for you right now. If you want to support my projects and work, you can go to what's it called? There are three ways you can do so. Three ways, I should say. I'm going to rewrite this live as we're doing it because I want to emphasize that one does not need to support me financially. So, all right. Now, if there are 5 ways you can support my channel, and I'm going to do them in declining order of importance. Should I do declining or ascending order of importance? I have to be a better storyteller, right? So I should probably do it. I should probably go from lowest to highest. That makes sense to me. Okay. Let's do this. All right. All right. So I realize that I gotta do all the rest of them now too. And okay. If you want to support my work, there are 5 ways that you can help do that. In starting from the things that help the least to the things that help the most. So at the bottom we've got super chats. If you want to say thank you, or if you like something I particularly did, or if you've just got a little bit of change sitting around and you don't mind, throwing a few dollars to help out Step Back, super chats are a great way to help the channel, and I appreciate it. But of course, they're never necessary. I want to make my content always be as free from paywalls as I can. Second. You can support my work if you want to do something a little bit more regular, but you want something very direct. You can go to Patreon, patreon.com/stepbackhistory, where you can support for as little as 84 cents a month if you choose to go for a year. And if you want to help in a way that not only helps me financially, but also helps with the channel's overall health and growth and its place in sort of my creator ecosystem, you can sign up for Nebula. If you go to nebula.tv/stepback and sign up for Nebula, with a 40% discount for a year, you will be helping me directly because part of your membership goes towards Step Back for as long as you stay a member. But also, you will be getting access to a bunch of awesome content, and you can you can watch my stuff on there, and it's way better on the sort of watch time stuff than on YouTube. You can also help out a lot more though by sharing my stuff. If you want to share this stream, if you want to share videos, anything that you thought was good and that other people would like would be important to share. And of course, the most important thing that you can do is word of mouth, is telling other people about the channel and saying to your friends and family and enemies and such why you like this channel and why they should check it out. That's the whole thing. My latest video. Now, this is the part where I have to think about whether I'm going to count shorts. My latest, I shorted earlier today about hydroxychloroquine and the sort of connection with right-wing conspiracies and how they're deadly. But my last video, my main video was on the Land Back movement that came out in December. I'm pretty proud of it. My next video, which I'm hoping, inshallah, will be coming out next Friday, is on Israel and the relationship, the things you're not told about Israel and Palestine by, the main ways that you are educated and the main ways that the media talks about them. It is a collaboration with a friend of mine who I went to grad school with, who is one of the most knowledgeable people on Palestine and Israel that I know. His name's Jeremy Appel. He's a journalist who works out of Alberta, and I was really excited to get to work with him on a project. Like we had we both like went to grad school together and then became content creators. He became like a like, you know, legitimate news journalist, and then also has a podcast that I've been on a couple times called Big Shiny Takes, which is sort of a Canadian media shitposting podcast. But then he's on another podcast I actually don't know too much about, unfortunately. But yeah. But he has been a advocate for Palestinian rights for decades. He has been to Gaza. He has been at many protests. He has spoken at many places, and he has it was really great to have him actually come on and work on a video with me. And I just got notes from him on the outline of the script yesterday, so today I'm going to furiously try to bash out the first draft of the script for this video, which I'm trying a cool new system that I'm hoping will give me something. I can talk about my new first draft writing process, if that is a direction that we're going to go down, if anyone is curious. But, you know, if you want to submit questions for streams, I'm going to put a link in the chat, but you can also just go to this URL right here, stepbackhistory.com/streamquestion, and submit questions. I hang on to them for a month. And so if I don't get them today, then it'll be fine. But also, I think I have like 4 questions today. And so it's very rare that I don't get to your question on the day that you submit it, if you're submitting it live during a stream. Also, if there are new folks, please say hi, make yourself known. Say hello, everybody. You guys are great. This is a kind of a strange time for you guys to come in for your first stream, for reasons I'll get into. But I'm grateful you're here, and I'm hoping you're having a good time. Okay, so we can go in 2 directions, and I'm going to let the audience, get the audience vibe to see what we think. I've got 2 things I want to do. I want to do wins, because everyone loves wins. And 2, I need to talk about a note about the future of this stream and on scheduling. So which do you want to get out of the way first? Do you want to get the announcements out of the way, and then we just get into the wins? Or do you want to do the other way around? Do you want to get some wins in before we have our talk? Notes, probably. Cool. Okay. Here's the thing. Here's the bit that I'm going to talk about with you guys. So here's the thing. Okay. So step back. As you guys probably know, I don't know if you guys all watched it, but I made a video last December about the state of Step Back. Specifically that starting this year, I'm going to probably need to take a little bit of a, put a little bit more distance between me and this YouTube channel, just because this channel has basically been making below minimum wage for the entire time that I've been running it. And I am kind of in a situation where I have been very broke for a long time, and then last November, my wife got laid off from her work, and she's in the process of finding new work right now. But I was already kind of thinking that I needed to find what comes after doing Step Back, because Step Back is just not pulling full-time money. Never has, and doesn't seem like after 4 years of trying to make it do it, it doesn't seem like it's going to, unfortunately. So I need to change my priorities, and I need to turn Step Back into more of a side hustle again. And that has meant that and since I made that video, I got a bunch of amazing, I got a bunch of super chats from people. I got a bunch of new patrons. I got some offers of some freelance work, and that has all been really great. It has really helped us in a pretty tough month financially right now in January. We're gonna try. We're trying our best to sort of we can squeeze financially through the next month or so, but yeah. So, but we're getting in. The things that are happening right now is that I have a few videos that I've already committed to that already have sponsors that I need to bang out. Basically, January's, February's, and March's videos. And once that happens, I need to then kind of reassess what the schedule for Step Back videos is going to be from then on out. But my wife's closing in on getting her next job now, and we're not 100% sure whether or not what she settles on is going to require moving. We're going to have to figure that out. We'll probably figure that out in the next month or so. And then once we actually know where we're going to be living, which, you know, for the most part, this is basically deciding about whether we're going to be living in London or Toronto. If we do find out that we are moving, or if we're not, if I know for sure whether or not, you know, this time next year I'm going to be living in this building, that means that I can then start looking for work in earnest. And I am sort of pivoting towards doing stuff like, you know, policy analysis, research assistant, sort of kind of blobby stuff. And also my schedule has filled up with a bunch of new freelance work that I'm doing. I don't know how much I can. Some of it's not very interesting, but one of the more interesting ones is that I am going to be helping Religion for Breakfast with making some scripts and with editing and or with script work, general script work. So I'm going to be doing some stuff for that, and I might be doing some fact checking for Mr. Beat and stuff like that. So who knows? Some really exciting people have some really exciting offers there, and I'm pretty pumped to give those a shot. But it does mean that the amount of hours that I have to work are being highly curtailed, and so streaming being a giant 2-hour brick in the middle of my Friday is not really something that I can sustain anymore. And given in the future that I'm going to be, you know, taking on a new job, that'll probably be like, you know, your 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. Having a stream at noon on Fridays is probably not going to be conducive to stuff. But I also love you guys. And I have, I'm in this situation where I want to keep this up because we have a great community here. The Step Back Discord is a great place. You guys are always a font of new ideas, interesting questions, and things that kind of keep the life going. And I think you guys are great. So I don't want to abandon streaming entirely. Right up until actually this morning, the plan for me was that this was going to be my last stream and that I was going to stop streaming. But my wife gave me some advice a little while back that I think I'm going to heed. And also when I saw that there was a post on the Discord this morning about how people like showing that people have some, that there's some love for the stream in the Step Back audience that I need to keep alive. So, anyways, this is the story about how Matt Lipton saved the Step Back streams. So, because Matt posted this whole thing about how, like, you know, you got to make it easier to get to the submitted questions because the stream's got to keep going, which shows that there's at least some people who are still really invested in keeping this going. All that is to say is that I am going to stop streaming in like the regular sense. So what that means is that like this like standing Fridays at noon thing is not going to continue. It's not a good time in my week, and I have had several streams over the last few years where I am panicking to get shit done for, you know, the end of the month, and then I have to stop all my work for 2 hours to come vibe with you guys, which is fun, but is you know, led to, like, you know, me having to work nights and weekends and stuff that I don't really want to keep doing. So I'm doing a thing that I'm going to what I'm going to try and do is that this is not me committing, but this is the plan. Is that I'm working very hard right now on something called time banking or time. I'm trying to get a stronger idea for how long everything that I do takes to do, so that I can measure it. So like I can figure out how many hours does a Step Back video take to make, so that I know based on how many hours I have available to work, how often a Step Back video can like realistically fit into my life. Same with, and if I do a sort of assessment on Fridays, but the idea will be to me is that if I can fit a stream into a week, I will do it. So it's sort of more of an opt-in instead of an opt-out situation. So I'm hoping this is all like, kind of convoluted in my head, but if it's a week where I find I've got 2 hours in the day where I'm at home, where I don't have like, pressing deadlines, and I think that it'll be conducive, I will do a stream. And it might be it might be on a Friday, it might not be. It might be Friday is probably going to be more regular because typically, the end of the week is when you can, like, if you do all the work on Monday through Thursday, then you can kind of fit in the thing on Friday. But where I can fit a stream in, I will do so, and I will try to give about a day's notice at the least. But I'll try to announce it as far ahead of time as I can to sort of squeeze these things into the schedule. That's the plan. But to kind of fill you in, Matt, what happened is that to fill you in on how you saved the stream, that was not the announcement I was planning to make when I woke up this morning. The announcement I was planning to make was, this is the last stream, that I was going to stop. But because you made that post in the Step Back video discussion Discord channel that showed that people still care about, like, having good enough access to the stepbackhistory.com/stream question thing, I thought, oh yeah, there's this group of people who actually give a shit about me coming on here and doing this. And so I thought it wouldn't be right to abandon it entirely. You know what I mean? If your stream gets irregular in its schedule and time, you'll get less regular viewers. That is true. But also, I don't know how many people are watching this. Like, to be honest, if you look at the numbers aren't that high to begin with. And I have to make some very real decisions that, like, you calculate the ROI, the amount of money per hour that streaming makes, and it is not very much. It is next to nothing, actually. So I have to sort of think more realistically about what kind of role the stream has to play in my life, because my time is not, I'm not 21 years old anymore. I can't just like pull an all-nighter if I can't get shit done. And I have a toddler and also just random shit always comes up that takes, like, big chunks of my day away. So I don't really have much of a choice but to, if something is not making money, then I can't really use my, like, hours that I need to be making money with doing it. And so I have to sort of downgrade it to a thing I do if I have time, because it's sort of a thing I'm doing because I like you guys. That's the sort of, you hate this term ROI. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, with the sort of situation I'm in where I'm balancing several different freelance gigs, and I'm doing Step Back, and at some point in the future I'm going to have like a real life ass job. I kind of have to measure my time that I spend in things and really get an idea for, what is making money and what isn't. It's not like my favorite thing, but yeah, that's sort of just that's an unfortunate reality, is that I don't have as much time as I used to, and I need to reprioritize. If it means anything from me, you've cultivated an audience that cares about you. I do. I appreciate that, and I love it. Yeah, you guys are great. I think that there's something that comes out of me when I'm streaming that doesn't come across in my videos, because I think if anything I've been told about how my videos work, I am a particularly I am not a very successful streamer or a successful YouTuber when it comes to like the idea of building that sort of relationship with the audience. I don't have whatever makes Matt/ThoughtSlime have so much presence and feel like they're like somebody who's close to so many people. I don't really have the sort of gonzo power that, like, a H-Bomber guy or whatever can do. And like that has been like, that's why Step Back is like always kind of been, it's been like I've been kind of like at the absolute bottom rung of what a full-time YouTuber can get away with, and I've never really kind of blown up in the way that a lot of others have. And that is the thing that I just have to live with. But I feel like in streaming, a lot of what that personality that doesn't come across in my videos does come out. Which makes me think that it would have been smarter if I had, like, you know, if it had existed, or if it was a viable path back in 2015 when I started Step Back, that I should have started as a streamer. But that's besides the fact. Here I am. Here's what we are. Here's what we have built. And I'm happy to keep this going in whatever capacity I can. So that's kind of the place I'm at. And I'm still trying things. Part of that me like writing stuff is actually, there's a lot of stuff about the way that I write scripts now that is me trying to get more of the stream Tristan out in my videos, but it's tough. It's really tough. I'm just not. Part of it is the fact that if I want to get really introspective, is that I've always not been a great writer. Don't like, this is not me, like, you know, fishing for compliments or anything like that, but like just to kind of give you an idea, as I've done these things, like is that music a little too loud? Basically, like, the long story part is that I am like I have lots of various skills that I am good at. I'm a researcher. I'm a decent researcher. I'm decent at, like, organizing thoughts and putting together ideas and building processes and all those kinds of things. But one of the things that I was always weak at, you know, going back to my days as a grad student, I've never been a good writer. I've been always just trash at writing. And on Step Back, I have moved between two different modes of writing over the years. You might not even have noticed, though I feel like it does come across sometimes, that my videos. So what would happen is I would go through two phases of making videos. One, I would write scripts, you know, word by word, write the script on the paper, and you would get a video that is written like it was writing an essay or anything like that. The other type that I would, and that would make it so that, you know, performing the video was easier because I had a word by word script that I could just use and put out. The other one I had was I was treating my videos scripts like lectures. So I would make a detailed outline, and then I would just sort of say it like I was presenting it at a class. And I did that for a long time. And what would happen is that I would do, like, the written scripts for a while, get frustrated with how long it took to write the damn script. And because then the first draft became this huge bottleneck for me. And so I'd always be like, all right, I'm just going to, you know, toss that away, and I'm going to go towards, like, presenting my videos. And then I would end up with videos that have, like, two things would come out of them. They would be slightly repetitive. Also, they would be very long. And I would not be, like, it would take me a lot longer to edit them because, you know, then I have to, like, film how I'm, like, rephrasing things multiple different times to try and speak out. And so, like, those are sort of the two ways that I've presented things. And I've been trying to find a third option that has the upsides of both. And that's what I'm trying with my next video. And I'm hoping that what I'll get is good. I'm going to try this afternoon, and then I'll see. But the idea is... So I think that the thing that I'm going to be trying to do in my next video, or for this next script, is that I'm going to do a hybrid of the two, which I also have tried, but I'm doing it in a different way. I'm going to make video. I'm going to. I have the outline. When I have the outline finished, I'm then going to do a. I'm going to record with audio, me sort of ad-libbing the presentation of the script. So I'm going to go through the outline section by section, record audio of me, you know, reading it through and presenting it as if I was presenting it like I was doing in the old ways of my videos. Then, through the magic of Whisper, take that WAV file, run it through Whisper, get a transcription and then sort of format the transcription. And then once I got that formatted, I can then treat that like it's the first draft of a script. But then I can like start editing it and try to like, make sure that it's still got like, good voice and it's not repetitive and all that kind of stuff. And then once that's through, I will have a script that hopefully preserves more of my authentic voice and the way that I speak and the sort of way that I do things. So it's not like, taking my writing voice instead it's using my my speaking voice, but still has the opportunity for me to add jokes, to tweak things, to make it so that it's more efficient and better written. That's the idea that I'm working for my new workflow. That's the thing, is I'm too passionate about workflows to keep being an artist. I need to use this for like some kind of processing or something. I need to have some kind of job where my love for flowcharts and checklists is rewarded more. It's also an interesting little, I can't go into too much detail about this other thing, but there's also this little gig that I've been I sort of just wandered into, where I might be helping with like content marketing and community building stuff for TTRPG and like board game companies, which would be really fun. Just in case I haven't recently told you how much everyone else here appreciates you. Well, thank you, Tarbox. I really appreciate it. I know that me coming on here to announce that you're going to be getting less content is not exactly everyone's favorite thing to hear, but I appreciate that you guys are understanding. This is why I love you guys. Have I considered doing project management or something? Yes, I have considered it a lot. There's two things that about that, which is one, all jobs at the end of the day are to some degree project management. So if I any job that I end up getting, I will definitely go into. But two, if I want to get into like a capital P, capital M project management job, you need that's a thing that you can get like certifications and degrees in, and they get very expensive. So it's a hard field to like crack into, because it's like it's increasingly becoming like a more professional. It's increasingly becoming like a profession, which means that it has like professional organizations and certifications and those kinds of like sets of criteria and such, that you can't just like learn it on your own and then like expect to find jobs. Like people who are hiring for a title that they call project manager are expecting you to have a very specific set of skills and know how to use certain types of tools and such like that. Just like if you wanted an HVAC person, you need to make sure they have their HVAC certification. The problem though is that the cheapest one of those would require me taking like a 3-month course, and it would cost me like $1,000 or something like that. So it's not really something that I can really afford to do at the moment, but yeah. It's something I'm definitely interested in. But that's not to say this process is a nightmare. Yeah, so job hunting. At the end of the day, the only metric that determines whether a job is how good you are at telling a hiring manager what they want to hear. I agree with an asterisk. It is bullshit. And a lot of the sort of rigmarole of applying for a job is kind of bullshit. But I will say there's like an almost unintentional benefit of that, which is what I'm learning from when I've talked to other people who have like been on, like people who have been employers, or people who have like gone through the hiring process, or people who have like people who have like I talked to a friend of mine who was a YouTuber / academic, and then she moved on to become she moved on to work for the government. And that is all that a lot of people, like a lot of jobs, many jobs, the skill that you need to have is be able to understand what your boss is asking for, and then do that without expending too much of your energy. Like, you have this much time, your boss wants you to do X, do X. Because like a lot of times you'll find that there's a lot of times where people don't understand what they're being asked to do. do something that is not what they were asked to do, and then have to redo a bunch of work because they're basically just redoing stuff they didn't do. And so, like, if you think about it, the job application process, the sort of writing of like the like you're putting together a resume and you're putting together a cover letter, which are types of reports basically that have a very specific format and has very specific things they want to hear. And so if you think about it, applying for a job is you testing out your ability to understand the thing that they want and then do it. Like in both writing format and then also in interviews, the same thing. You know, they want you to perform a certain thing, and then if you can do it, then that means that you'll be decent at like understanding the things that they want you to do and then going out and doing them. Obviously easier said than done, but yeah. My so I'm kind of, yeah, that's kind of the place I'm at. But yeah, that's the whole thing about Step Back. To kind of give you the TLDR version of what I just put together is that I'm going to, instead of having streams every single Friday, I'm going to try and find moments in my week where a stream would actually fit in hours wise and work wise. And then I will come and I will announce a stream as early as I can so that people can kind of prepare for it and then come in and do it. That's the plan. My guess, and maybe to make it work better, I might try doing stuff like, if this is interesting to anybody, I don't know, but this was recommended to me. Like a lot of other streamers, like you know, Sean and such, they stream them playing video games, and I don't play a lot of video games, so I would love to, like, if I can have more content where my streaming is not just me talking at a camera for 2 hours, I think that I could probably fit more things into it, is the thing. The only problem is that I'm extremely bad at video games. There's like no video games that I'm actually good at. So there's that. But I think there are some things that I could stream. And here I was worried that me and Pim are the only autists in the audience. No, I have I think it should be well known that I have cultivated an audience of several neurospicy people. Interestingly enough, as somebody who is neurodivergent myself, I haven't attracted a ton of people in my corner of neurodivergence, but I have attracted quite a few people who are on the autism spectrum. But just like sort of non-autistic ADHD people like myself, not as many, oddly enough. That's fine. I think I have a brain that and a way of approaching things that appeals very much to some of the ways that autistic people sort of approach the world. So I think that helps a little bit. Oh. Did I ever keep the save file of the Stellaris game you did long ago on stream? No, I haven't. My Stellaris, I haven't played Stellaris in a long time, and I'm pretty sure I've uninstalled it and reinstalled it a few times, and I think I've lost some saves in the process. And also, I'm like a person with Stellaris where, like, when a new expansion comes out, I like delete all my old saves and just start over, because this is my bad habit with all Paradox games, and I really need to figure out how to not do this, which is that I never play past, like, basically I'll just get as far as I can in like the first session of play on a campaign, and I'll never finish. I'll just, and then by the time I actually come back to playing it, it's been long enough that a new piece of DLC has come out or something, and I'm completely unmotivated to play the old save because I want to do the new thing, and then that happens. So I need to like have something that kicks me in the butt and forces me to like actually play the campaign, the sort of the saves or the campaigns that I actually sign up for. You're looking for that 1491 book by Charles Mann, your local bookstore. They do not have it. They did have its sequel, 1493, though. Yeah, 1493 is also a good book. I've read that. I've been very happy with it. I like 1491 better because I think it's more interesting, but 1493 is also a really good book. 1491 is definitely getting its win because as we transition to wins, actually, it's getting a win because it had a big section that talked about how there's increasing evidence that there was a extremely large and sophisticated society that lived in the Amazon rainforest, or what we call today the Amazon rainforest. And that, like, as Brazil starts clearing out more and more of the Amazon, we're finding more evidence of things like cities and roads and, like, a very complex network. And Mann sort of talks that there are several archaeologists who are suspecting that that means that the Amazon probably was a lot more populated than we thought. And second, that it might be an answer to the fact that there's this strange, like, one of the kind of oddities about the Amazon rainforest is that it has an almost overabundance of plants that seem to be useful to humans. And so there's this thinking that maybe the Amazon is the way it is because the indigenous people who lived there in the past intentionally cultivated plants that were useful to them. And so, like, in how many indigenous people around, like, and this is not like sort of out of the blue or like, you know, fantasy or whatever, because like a very common indigenous technology across the Americas was this sort of like geoengineering, where through things like controlled burns, but also through like through various other techniques, a lot of indigenous societies, like one technology that was very popular in indigenous societies was the year-on-year sort of manipulation of the natural environment to better suit them. Like, for example, like there was a time where because of indigenous stuff, they like were able to expand the roaming range of the buffalo all the way. Some are saying like almost all the way to the Atlantic coast, because, or at least all the way to the Appalachian Mountains, because of, like they would regularly burn down parts of the forest to create grassland, because they realized that if you burn down this and you let grassland grow this, you can like kind of change the environment to get more of what you want. And that we didn't realize this sophisticated technology they had, because when the Columbian Exchange happened and like 80% of the population of North and South America died, then, like, you know, it was post-apocalyptic in the most real sense of the term, right? So then what happened was a lot of this place rewilded and grew over, and we kind of just forgot about it. So, like, what would happen is, like, and that is, some people suspect that that might be tied to the Little Ice Age, because so much rewilding happened, so like so much more like forest growth happened, that those trees then sequestered a bunch of carbon in their wood, and that pulled a bunch of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, and that might have led to this like dip in temperature that happened, which is interesting. What if you stream playing a game with somebody? Maybe. That sounds like fun. I'll have to figure out how to get it to work, but yeah. So that would very interestingly answer a lot of our questions about the sort of interesting amount of biodiversity in the Amazon, and it also sheds light on a whole civilization that we know almost nothing about. So it'd be really cool to see what comes out of that. And it contributes more, because like one of the things that I get the most shit for in the comments of my YouTube video that I did on 1491 ages ago, like one of my first videos, was that I said that some estimates, so some of the higher estimates of how many people lived in the Americas before the West, was like 100 million people, because then that would put, because right now like the sort of average number puts it so that, like, you know, the death of like the sort of great dying, or you would call it, or the depeopling of the Americas, the sort of dying of like 80-90% of the population of North America, or North and South America, puts it at like a process that killed about 20% of the human population. But if it is a higher number, and the estimates always seem to be going higher, it might put it closer to like 30 or 40. In which case, like, there is no greater there's no greater pandemic that has ever happened in human history. It is like one of the greatest moments of it's like one of the greatest in the sense of large. It's one of the largest moments of mass death. It is the largest moment of mass death that has ever happened. Which, doesn't like, that lets us, like, we don't really appreciate the scale of the Columbian Exchange's effect and how that had, like, geological impacts. The fact that so many humans died that it might have changed the climate says quite a bit. The issue with that hypothesis is that it's already been cooling in Europe for 190 years by 1492. Yeah, there is that. It might have been like a sort of exacerbation or something like that. I don't know. But either way, it's a hypothesis, not a theory, right? Anyways, let's do some wins. All right. So, if there is anybody who's their first time here, one of the things that we do kind of before we get into the questions and have a more deep and kind of darker conversation, we want to start on a high note. We want to talk about we are an anti-doomer stream, so we tend to get people we want to start with people talking about victories, things they did that were successful, things that they a big and small, big accomplishments are as welcome as the little things that got you through your week. And those are a way to sort of cognitively reframe us and understand that not everything is as dire as the news would make us want to think. So that's the thing. All right, let's see what we've got. I want to see if there's any that I missed when I was like searching around, because I think I saw one really early in the stream's chat. Explain history using a heavily modded Crusader Kings, and then hard pivot to a podcast about historical disasters with slides. Oh boy. Oh boy, Paul. If you listen to It's Probably Not Aliens, if you are a fan of the thing that you are making jokes, the person you are making a joke about, I have to say, you will enjoy the next episode of It's Probably Not Aliens. That's the teaser I'm gonna give. Yeah. All right, Pim. Yesterday you went to the dentist. Your teeth were so good that that you don't have to come back until next year. That is nice. I like that. That is good news. I went to the dentist this week too. I had a kind of similar win, is that I went to the doctor and the dentist, and both of them were like, things look good. Keep at it. Which is very nice. I got both of those in the same day. Got your car back from the body shop, $2,500 in repairs, and it only cost you your deductible. Nice. Yeah, car costs can be unexpected and devastating, and the fact that that it's covered when car insurance tries so hard to not cover those things is definitely a win. As somebody who has now owned a car for a month and a half, I've owned a car for a month and a half, and I have already had to take it to the shop once, and I lost like $400. That was fun. That was very fun. Paul's win, they started learning Rust, the programming language. Ooh, I think my wife has spent the last like 3 years learning all sorts of programming languages. And I think Rust might have been one of them. Although I think it was mostly R and Python, but I don't exactly like, because like everyone's talking about Rust now, and I'm somebody who has like spent like years trying to even grasp basic Python. So I don't know what. I'm not exactly sure what makes Rust different. I think it has something to do with it's a data language more than anything. But yeah. I guess for wins, maybe I finally saved enough money to buy a new PC, which once my tech friends took over parts list, we'll be ordering the parts. But other than that, not much. I had a friend do that to me too. This current computer I'm using right now, I had a friend who knows about these sorts of things hook me up with it, hook me up with the parts, and then we put it. I bribed him with pizza to put it together because he bought like stuff that I did not want to fuck with, like you know, thermal paste and stuff like that for mounting your CPU, and I was like, Can you do it? I'll give you pizza if you do it. But that was in 2019, and now I think it's starting to show its age. I need new parts. I actually do have new parts somewhere. I got for my birthday from my parents. Actually, I got new hard drives for my computer, and including the sort of the really fancy new hard drives. I don't remember what they're called anymore, but they're like. They're sort of like really, really fast. They're like almost like they're like above solid state. I don't even know. I should not talk about tech stuff when I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. But these like really, really fast hard drives that are really good for like editing video, for example. And I got two of those. I got one of those that I'm going to put the operating system on, and then I'm going to install, like I'm going to have like whatever, you know, YouTube project I'm working on at any given time in there. And then I got another like just humongous hard disk drive to store all the stuff that I have to deal with. And on top of the hard drives I already have in, I'm like, this will be much better architecture. And so I'm excited for that. But yeah. But I have to actually find, I need to find some time to actually like install it, like do it, because I imagine it's going to take the better part of a day to get that up and running, especially because I have to figure out how to like take a computer that already exists and has Windows installed on one drive and change it so that Windows is installed on the other drive. And I have to look up how to do that, and it seems like it's just going to be a big long process, and I'm kind of already tired about the idea of like having to reinstall Windows and then probably having to reformat that other hard drive, and just like I'm like I need a drink. I'm already tired thinking about doing it. When during New Year's you played beer pong against your sisters and won. That is awesome. Beer pong is an awesome sport to play, and showing your sisters that you are better at throwing cups into balls with a little bit of beer in it is solid. When I was an undergrad, I was in a beer pong tournament that took place outside in January, and it was probably like -25. It was cold enough that the beer was turning to slush as we were doing the contest. Because when I lived in Quebec, we did a lot of stuff outside when it was like so cold that people should not be outside at that time. Like -25, -30. I think I was out there once it was like -40. It's just like, yeah. MD Hatter, your master's program has allowed you to continue your studies despite your lower than desired GPA. Nice. You can turn around now that you're addressing your ADHD. Yes. Thank you. That sounds great. That is good news. Very good news. Ziamith, your win this week is the cooperative idea you've been dreaming up is coming to fruition. You have 2 other core people to start the business with. Just need 2 more board members to incorporate. Nice. Do it up. That's ambitious. From weeks back, during New Year's Eve, a mod for a really old game that I've been playing since I was a kid finally got an update I've been waiting for 5 years. That is good. That is good. Gosh. Nice stuff. Matt got a Marvel Unlimited subscription so you can keep up with Marvel Comics without paying a ton of money on singles or relying on shady websites. Nice. Man. Comics are like the sort of hobby that I've always like thought that I would be into, and then I've never been able to keep up with. Like I buy the occasional graphic novel, but I have a very hard time like getting excited about like, you know, keeping up with the monthly series or whatever. Because yeah, I'll try and then I'll be instantly lost and won't understand what's going on and just I don't know. Rebecca, your win is wearing makeup at work. Even wore some Barbie pink lipstick. Nice. I'm a newly very mostly out trans, so it's a big step. That is a big step. Congratulations. I bet that felt amazing. All right. Finally saw the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie on New Year's Eve, which was great, both because it was a really good movie, but because I missed it in theaters in the summer due to an injury. Well, that's good. Ninja Turtles is a thing that I've also never been able to click with. It's for some reason the nostalgia for Mutant Ninja Turtles just did not hit me. It's one of like Ninja Turtles and like, you know, Super NES Mario, like Super NES Nintendo stuff. It's the sort of, those are the two bits of like millennial nostalgia that just went way above my head because I never had a Super Nintendo and I never really jived with Ninja Turtles. So like things like Mario and Zelda, I don't have the same sort of like heart attachment to, like it seems like a lot of other people do who are my age. And it's the same with Ninja Turtles. Made plant-based, Jennifer Loves Screw It made plant-based burger patties from scratch for the first time, and they turned out tasty. They're made with beans, so they're very cheap and can freeze when they're convenient, and they're convenient too. Nice. That's awesome. I actually had, on New Year's Eve, we had some friends over who also have a toddler, and we sort of did like a sort of toddler-friendly New Year's Eve party. They're vegetarians. And they brought over a sort of, they made nachos, but like they made nachos, but like they made it where like they just, it was not nacho. It was what, you know, Europeans might think nachos are, I think. But it was basically like tortilla chips with chili on top. And it was still really good, but the thing is that the chili was made with TVP, and my mom like was on this diet when we were younger that involved her making a lot of stuff with TVP, and I sort of had like traumatic memories about TVP. I thought that shit was just gross, but this chili that they made with TVP was really good. Like obscenely good. Like I ate all of it, and I didn't eat all. I didn't like, you know, like there was a bunch of leftovers, and I ate a bunch of the leftovers, and I was like, shit, I need to make this again. I don't know how this was so good, but it was so good. I guess TVP's come a long way in the last few years, last couple decades. So that made me very happy. You had some cool, Pim had some cool game ideas, but in the current future, that's not going to happen. Yeah, I think, Pim, I have the same sort of thing that you do. Because like I've also had lots of game ideas, and then I was like, oh, to make a video game, you need to be a very good, you have to be a game designer. You also have to be a computer programmer. You have to be a graphic artist. You have to be a musician. And then and all of that, and so that immediately was making me go like, that is far too many skills for one human being to have, and a lot of the ideas that I've had for video games have been too ambitious for just like, you know, even for somebody who's like you know, like. It seems like if you want to be like an indie game designer and you're just starting off, everyone just makes like, you know, side-scrolling platformers, and I don't like those. I don't like platformers at all. They're not entertaining to me at all, and I'm like, I don't want to do it. So like, I guess I'm just not gonna mess with it. But I have been taking more interesting stuff. I have been more interested lately in getting into game design for tabletop, and I'm doing more of that. Like I have there's a board game concept that I'm sort of in the middle of building a prototype for at the moment that I'm very excited about. And one of my video game ideas that was very ambitious, I'm also trying to kind of reformulate as a tabletop war game. So we'll see how that goes. Or should I say, it started as a tabletop war game, then it turned into a video game, and then when I realized that the second that an idea of mine becomes a video game, it's never going to happen. So I turned it back into a tabletop war game, and I think it'll be really interesting once I actually get it up and running and doing what I want it to do. So. Matt also entered 2024 on a great productivity streak, blowing 2023 out of the water with a Pomodoro streak of 11 days straight and got a decent amount of drawing done. Nice. Yeah, I got really into Pomodoros. That's the way that I'm measuring my time mostly. I got really into Toggle, like yesterday or 2 days ago. So Toggle's now taken over my life. And that seems to be working really well for me. And because I found out that sometime since I last used Toggle, they actually added a Pomodoro feature, which I was like, perfect. It has everything I need. You got your brother a pizza stone for his birthday and used it the other day, and the results were amazing. Yeah, homemade pizza. Good shit. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles nostalgia is very much based on your age. Yeah, but I should be in the right age for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because I'm, 35. So I was born in 1988. So I should be like peak Ninja Turtles age, Let's see what else we got here. 4, you're going to be GMing a new superhero campaign in the spring, but character creation is later this month, and you're hyped for the crazy Las Vegas-inspired setting of the campaign. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. Yeah. I have... I'm thinking I might make a video about this at some point, not on Step Back, but probably on some other channel that I'll make for purpose. But I have this idea for a video that is me talking about my, way that I manage my RPG campaigns, because I've kit bashed together a bunch of systems that I'm very proud of. And I was thinking that I've had this idea in my mind for a long time to have a YouTube channel where I make random videos with some tabletop, like some of my tabletop prep ideas, but also the main thing that I wanted to do was make shorts that are pre-made content, shorts that basically would be in 1 minute. You would get a really cool location or encounter or NPC, and you would have everything in that 1 minute thing to run them. Especially because I'm getting really interested in. After a year of running away from 5e, I'm now starting to think of taking an interest in sort of the D&D 5e, maybe not even calling it D&D, calling it the 5e infrastructure, the sort of third-party world of 5e offshoots that are still, because they all are based on the 5.1 SRD, are still intercompatible with each other. So the one that I'm kind of curious about right now is Level Up Advanced 5e, but which can still use stuff from Monster Manual or Flea Mortals or anything else. But it's got a lot of the kind of stuff that regular D&D is missing, and it seems to have its design priorities more in a direction that I like. And they also have a more Paizo-like generous policy of opening stuff to their SRD. And I feel like it'll be a lot easier to convince people to play something like Level Up Advanced 5e than it would be to play Pathfinder, which I'm running a Pathfinder campaign right now, and it's fun, but it's still the rules are a lot. And I kind of am thinking that it might be good to try something that is less intense, but is and more in the sort of 5e that most people are familiar with, but is still got a lot of juice on its bones. But the main group that I'm running Pathfinder with, I think in the future are going to be more inclined to play something that is less rules heavy and more rules light. I really want to run Monster of the Week with my regular Wednesday group. I feel like that would be a really good thing for that group. Anyways. That's besides the fact. That is a thing that I'm just kind of sitting on as a thing to do in the future. Um, Matt, your birthday is also this month, and next weekend you and some high school friends are going to hang out for the first time since pre-COVID and are going to go to a smash room followed by a dinner at a Southern-style barbecue joint. That sounds fun. Man, that sounds really fun. Actually, Matt, I was going to bring this up with you at some point, but like, there was a little while, a couple weeks ago, where we were very seriously considering, and we still are to an extent, like it could be a thing in our future. But one of the things that we're considering doing, both my wife and I, are planning on getting ourselves into the pool for federal government jobs. And then if we ever got called in to take one of those federal government jobs, we would then move to a place like Gatineau. And so that would have us actually in your neck of the woods. But yeah. So let's see. Tabletop's a bit more manageable to make because the design is most of the work rather than just making it. Yeah. I have this idea right now. The idea is that I have a board game concept that I'm working on. I have a very solid concept of its design, and I want to prototype it and playtest the shit out of it. But I also think I might have actually talked Matt/ThoughtSlime into doing the art for it. So, like, we might, if it actually gets far enough to turn into a real thing, then I might like do like a Kickstarter to raise money so that we could do like a print run and actually like pay Matt to draw all of the cards and stuff. It's primarily a card game. It's like it's primarily, if you want any reference, it's like if it's like a mix of like Sushi Go and Jaipur with like a mix of like with like some like comedic elements too that can cause a lot of chaos. Let's see. You made a card game a la Magic the Gathering once, and it was fun to experience design one and then play it with your friends. It's really and learn it's really bad, and then iterating on it and getting better. Yeah, that I'm hoping to do soon. I'm very interested as someone who's still so far still a baby GM. Yeah, I think I should. I think it's a project that would be really creatively fun if I could get into it. The only thing that sucks is that like if I wanted to make like that sort of thing where I do a short where I have a whole, you know, I have the whole encounter together. The problem is that is art. That's always the whole problem with doing any of the sort of aims I have for making like RPG video content is that it would require tons of art, and Tristan doesn't have money to pay artists hundreds of dollars for pieces. So instead, it just won't get made. And so, because I'd have to figure out how to way to compellingly talk about an encounter that doesn't have pictures of the encounter, or just not make it, you know? Either that or I have to like teach myself how to draw, which would be, it seems like it would be like an absolute nightmare. I've been trying to learn how to draw for ages, and I feel like it would take so many years to get good enough at drawing that I could actually even make the things that I want to make. That then, I don't know, it seems like it'd be a lot of work to just be able to make like, you know, YouTube shorts. But it would help a lot if I could figure out how to draw. It's high on the list of skills that I really wish I could have. I really wish that I could like give myself the time to actually learn, but it's extremely hard. If I haven't missed W's, nope. We're doing them right now. Yours is that after some heavy budgeting, the wife and I have found that she can quit the job she hates for a full-time mom. That would be awesome. Congratulations, that's awesome. What is the Advanced 5e again? You're looking it up. It's called Level Up is the name of the game. It's made by N-World or EN-World. So the game is called Level Up, and then I think it's also called Advanced 5e. So, but that's the game. but I like some stuff about it because like not to get into I'll get into like the weeds a little bit, but like basically like it has the big differences that I can think of off the top of my head that I think are interesting is like one, they have replaced character creation with a lot more things that I think make for better characters and make it so that more different D&D characters can have more individuality in their character than you would see in a regular 5e character. For example, instead of just choosing race, class, and then you choose like ideals, bonds, and like, you know, that kind of stuff, they make you choose a heritage, which is sort of like your species, which can be like, you know, it's all your typical things that they typically just cover biological stuff, but they don't affect any of your stats. So it's like, you know, it's like the Dragonborn, and the Dragonborn heritage would be like, you know, the scaly skin, the lifespan, and also things like the fire breath and that kind of thing. Then you have culture, which is the culture you grew up in, which decides like your languages and your like some of your proficiencies and like those kinds of things. And that kind of is the replacement of the sort of sub-race concept in D&D. So you choose your main, you know, heritage, and then you choose your culture, and so you can play like, you know, the Aragorn, who's like the human who has elvish culture, or you can play like or like, and they also have rules for like mixed heritage too. So like those two things. Then they have, instead of and then they have backgrounds, and the backgrounds mean a lot more than they do in the regular D&D. Like they have more, they affect your stats more, and they give you proficiencies that you can then add, like instead of expertise has been changed, so instead of just doubling your proficiency, you get to add a dice to it, and you can get some more of that, and you can also advance as you level up with your background. So your background means a lot more. And then you choose a destiny, which is sort of your character's motivation in the world, and it inspires the way that the inspiration mechanic works, which is great because 5e's inspiration mechanic seems completely pointless and has no use. And it's very similar to the way Baldur's Gate handled inspiration. So it gives you, like, I think, new things to get inspiration from, and new ways to spend your inspiration that are based around your character's main driving motivation to become an adventurer. So I like all that. And then there's also some stuff about like how martial classes have like these combat maneuvers, and they have fighting styles that you choose, and like the weapons are all meaningfully different, and there's like an actual exploration mechanic, and like blah 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 blah. I'm talking way too much for the RPG, the non-RPG heads to take care of, but it's like every like bugbear I had about 5e being taken care of in a meaningful way, which I like. Oh, and also feat chains that kind of fill the role that like Pathfinder 2e archetypes have. So you can have like feats that manage things like you can have feats that are designed for like if your character is a vampire, you can take these feats that give you some vampire stuff, and they have ones that are designed for making certain types of multi-classes work better. And I don't know, I'm gonna read it again, and I'm gonna see if I can get a group to actually run it in, but that's something I think I'm really into. You posted 2 late questions to the Google thing. Don't worry about it. I've got your stuff. When you post things in the Google thing, it automatically goes to a Notion database that I am looking at. I can see your things. I've acknowledged them. That Probs Not Aliens holiday special sold me on Monster of the Week. I'm excited to run it with your family. That's awesome. Yeah, I want to run Monster of the Week too. I think I read the book for the podcast, and I loved it so much. And I'm like, I want to play something in this so bad. Government, you're bilingual, right, Tristan? I am kind of bilingual. I am. So the thing is that in the federal government, the amount of French that you know is like basically like your ticket to how successful you can be. I think that my French is mostly oral. Like I am okay at oral, which is a very fun thing to say out of context. But basically the way that it works is that in the federal government, your French proficiency is measured by like A, B, or C on oral, written, and reading. And so, and the higher you can get all of those, the more and higher paying jobs you can have available to you. So, my guess is that I could probably get myself to maybe a B in oral and probably an A in the other two. But I might be able to, you know, the thing about the federal government is that they give you lots of opportunities to, on their dollar, like focus on improving your French skills. So that was part of my thing. Drawing is fun, but very time consuming. Yeah. At some point, it's on my list of like things to. Do you have RPG thoughts in your Discord? I mean, maybe I should. I feel like I think that the issue is that that step back is kind of the step back Discord is sort of its own beast at this point, and I know that they're kind of running into a wall of having too many channels. So there's sort of I think there's like a moratorium on new channels. So like having a channel of me just like spouting RPG stuff. I think there is an RPG channel, but I don't know if it gets a lot of juice. But maybe I should talk about it more. But yeah, as far as work goes, as far as like making content goes, I'd have to figure out how to make some art. But that's, you know. You can get better, but it does take time to improve, especially if you're working on the side. You have to do about 10,000 bad drawings before you start getting good. Yeah. Gonna quit smoking again, but soon. Nice. Tobacco is nicotine's an extremely hard addiction to kick. So, best of luck. Let's see. If only I could learn to draw. There was a guy in Germany who could learn to draw and ended up going down a bad path. Oh God. Technically, it was Austria. Let's be honest. All right. I feel like that's the only way that I could truly do something with art that I actually am happy with is using shortcuts. The thing, though, is that, Pim, is that there's no really such thing as a shortcut to art, right? There's like, you know, if you end up with a drawing of a thing that you like, then you did art. There's no like right and wrong way to do it. What's their magic system like? I think that the magic system is fairly similar to the regular 5e. Like, I think that in many ways, a lot of the effort put into Advanced 5e's mechanics is to bring the martial classes to have as many interesting choices as D&D's, as the spellcasters have. The other thing I forgot about with Advanced 5e that I also like is that they put a lot of effort into making sure that every class has stuff that they can do that's not just combat focused. So like, and also not like they made it so that like fighters can have like there's features that fighters get that have them be able to do things in non-combat that would be like, you know, interesting, you know. And they put a lot more effort into making sure that like every class gets attention for what they can do in fights, but also, you know, in social situations and also in exploration and all that kind of stuff, which I think I really appreciate. And I also think that they made it so that the base ranger doesn't have any. The base ranger has no spells, which I also think is cool. And they also changed the name of the monk and the barbarian to the berserker and the adept. I think they also changed the name of the paladin too to something else. But basically, the idea is that they've been changed to give them more variety in what kind of character fantasies you can go through with it. Because like the monk is kind of like overly tied to like wuxia and like sort of that kind of fantasy. But like the adept, I think is means that you can like expand it to being like you can just be a guy who's really good at punching stuff and like all sorts of other ideas. And I think that the paladin change and the barbarian changer in the similar fashion. Let's see. And it's compatible enough that apparently you could play a campaign where somebody plays a regular D&D character and you would have an advanced 5e character and they'd be able to play in the same campaign and it wouldn't be a problem. So if you have someone who really just doesn't want to give up on D&D Beyond or something, then you could still carry that. Let's see. But yeah, the idea is that I would probably like monthly limit on questions isn't going to be a thing without regular streamers. Yeah, I might just keep it. I mean, I'm going to have to figure it out. I think that I'm going to have to figure out what the pace of streams is going to be before I figure out like whether or not streams expire or questions expire. I might just get rid of the expiration, because that was coming from a time when I was streaming a lot and we were getting a lot of questions. And so I was like never ever able to catch up. But maybe it's worth, you know, reevaluating at some point. Um, Not sure if this has been covered yet, but has anyone looked into the MCDM RPG that had a very successful Kickstarter? The system looks really cool. I've looked into it. I think it's interesting. It's not like my kind of game, but I like it a lot. I kickstarted it, and then when we found out that we're poor, I had to cancel my pledge. But there's some interesting stuff that's been brought up, but it is much more of like it's very much, it's supposed to be, I think, a spiritual successor to 4E, which is fine, because I think 4E is an unfairly maligned game, but it's not my thing. I'm kind of more pushing for my RPGs to move away from the gamey direction and more towards the sort of, story light, sort of fun stuff, but or story focused and rules light stuff. But also there's something about the way that like Matt Colville's like, what he finds interesting and cool is different from what I find interesting and cool, and his stuff is very much mired in his specific setting. And so, like, obviously it's going to be tweakable to whatever setting you make, and I still think that, like, he's a nice guy, his stuff is good, I've learned a lot from his content over the years, but the MCDM RPG just, like, it's just a little bit off of my vibe. But I think I'll probably end up buying it at some point and reading it, because there's probably a lot of really interesting ideas in it, and I could also be wrong, because he's also a really good game designer, so we'll see what happens. Yeah. Been thinking about putting together a bespoke RPG based on the secret space program conspiracy theory. That'd be fun. Yeah, if I were to run a Monster of the Week campaign, my guess is that I would probably have like an Ancient Aliens aspect to it. I have, like, if I were to run a Monster of the Week campaign, I have this idea of making a horror, like, it would be like, obviously horror because it's Monster of the Week, but having it so that the monsters are really inspired by like things like creepypastas and like SCP fiction and like Our No Sleep stories, and also tie into some of the fears about like the way the world is going, and then also probably, because it would take place in North America, probably also tie it into some like, like sort of like settler colonialism type stuff. So that's it. Isn't Wizard of the Coast kind of making Magic the Gathering and D&D untenable with all their business decisions? Yes. This is why I like the idea of like level up advanced 5e, because one of the things that I think that Wizards of the Coast did one good thing last year that is going to make it so that I can actually tolerate living in this ecosystem where everyone just wants to play 5e, which is that they made the systems resource document for D&D, they made it Creative Commons, which means that really you can make, like, there's a ton of content out there for 5th edition D&D that does not involve giving Wizards of the Coast a fucking dime. Like, you can run an entire adventure with level up advanced 5e as the core game that you're running, with the monster manual from that, but also with like Flea Mortals, the MCDM sort of thing. And you could also, just on top of that, you could also add like an adventure that was written by Kobold Press. And because that's all under the sort of 5.1 SRD architecture, they all can work with each other, and they would all work. You can have an encounter where you have monsters from like 5 different companies' books in the same fight, and it will all work. It's all balanced around the same thing. And so that, I think, is a way to like make it, like, it kind of turns it into a game system rather than just a game in and of itself, which means you can do a lot more with it. And I think that, like, because 5e is so ubiquitous, it might be useful in the future to explore this space where, 5e almost becomes like the open source RPG system that then anybody can put anything together and balance it around. Let's see. Your group is going to start a new campaign. You're going to be a halfling bard who's basically a medieval IWW organizer. That sounds fun. You familiar with the Secret Space program? Because when I first heard it, I thought it was hilarious and rad as hell. Yeah, I did an episode of It's Probably Not Aliens about it. You want a classless RPG system? There are tons of those. I bet you could even make. I bet that like somebody could even make a game that is 5.1 SRD compatible that is also a classless RPG. Which would be really cool. I'd be interested to see what that results in. But all right, I think that's enough. I think we've gone through all of the wins. So let's go into the questions. Let's see. We got a handful, so let's get cracking. Apparently, some cryptid enthusiasts in Canada believe mammoths might still exist in remote parts of Canada, much like with Bigfoot and his is based on dubious eyewitness accounts and creatively interpreted native legends. With regards to the later point, do you think it's offensive to assume natives would only have folklore about mammoths if they were still around in the last few hundred years? Mammoths still exist on an island. It was possible to sail from Alaska to Siberia until 1700 BCE. I don't think it's crazy to say they might have oral traditions that go back that far, if not more. Yeah, that's not that crazy to say. Like, it would be pretty impressive, and it would be like really wild if that was true. But then again, we found things that are just as impressive that were true, like finding out that like a common children's rhyme that got passed down from like kid to kid through sort of kid culture apparently had its like origins as far back as the Roman Empire. So it wouldn't be too insane to kind of go down that route. All right, let's see. It is interesting. I did not know that there were mammoth truthers out there. It would be like there's part of it that I'm like, okay, I can kind of understand that because like northern Canada is very sparsely populated and it is very large, and it could be very easy for even something as large as mammoths to exist there without people noticing. But it's still, I think it's still like there's not enough evidence to really be convincing either way, like, or to not be convinced of the away from the null hypothesis, which is that as far as we can tell, mammoths have been extinct for thousands of years. But like, if like mammoths were to exist, like, you know, they would exist in like extremely rural Canada or like Siberia or something, right? So mammoths do leave behind their big bones. Yes, that is true. That is true. But like also, like Canada's like north is humongous. Like entire like there's like, you know, like there's places multiple times the size of Europe that like might have a person living in it. Like it's humongous. And you know, a lot of things can go missing there and have nobody notice, right? But even so, it would still be a stretch. I bet northern Canada is just Bigfoots riding mammoths all day, telling legends of creatures called humans that most Bigfoots think are a myth. Now there's a campaign right there. Let's see. And also, if you think about it, Matt, there is like a thing where like in Siberia there is a sort of industry of people who are still harvesting mammoth ivory. It's extremely expensive, but there is still enough like kind of like leftover ivory from the Ice Age that people do go out looking for it, find it, and bring it back and sell it. So, Canada's population distribution is really weird if you look at a map. It just makes sense if you think about it, but still, yeah. There's like a line that goes from like Sarnia to Quebec City. And if you draw this line that goes from Quebec City to Sarnia, you've got like most of the Canadian population in that one line. To the point where it would be really smart if we built a high-speed rail that covered that one line. We could be a very, very prosperous, like European-style country just in that one area. Like there's like two urban centers out in the entire country. There's like two major urban centers outside of that line. There's like what's it called? There's like the sort of Calgary/Edmonton metropolitan area, and there's like the sort of Vancouver one. But like outside of those two, like every major city in Canada, like I think like something like, 8 of the top 10 largest cities in Canada are in that line. Let's see. This morning I remembered camel spiders, specifically the old internet rumors of how they were massive venomous creatures that ran as fast as a car could eat camels. Yeah, I remember this. This was like because like we were starting to see pictures because people would like bring their digital cameras when they went to like Afghanistan and stuff, and they would take pictures of these camel spiders, or Iraq, sorry. And I just like, oh yeah. I remember how these early stories claim to come from soldiers serving in Iraq. Could it be that the urban legend grew out of trying to make the Middle East seem more inherently dangerous and scary than it actually is? For sure. Definitely, they were making up stuff about the place where soldiers were. That happens all the time. That happened during during Vietnam too. So yeah, 100%. Thank you for what you've done over the years. Well, thank you. Have you heard of Motion M86? That's for creating a citizens' assembly on electoral reform. The House of Commons will vote on it in February. If you haven't heard of it, what do you think about the push for proportional representation in Canada? That does sound awesome. Something makes me think that it would not make it through because the Liberals would never vote for something like that, because the Liberals basically owe their entire electoral success to being everyone's second choice. That's why even when they were for electoral reform, they wanted a ranked choice ballot, because they knew that ranked choice ballots would benefit them primarily. I would love it. I would love, like, I don't know anything about this specific motion, but proportional representation is like, yeah, it's like, I feel like it's the bare minimum that Canada needs to actually be considered a democracy. And the fact that, the Liberals, when Trudeau got into power, like, they campaigned on it and then actively killed it, says a lot. And I don't, like, to me, I don't know if we're going to get something like proportional representation while a conservative or liberal government is in charge. And unfortunately, those two parties represent all of the parties that have ever run Canada. So something would have to change quite a bit. Remember back in 2020 when someone briefly floated the idea of Canada joining the EU? Yeah, that was something that people were thinking about as a way to reduce our dependence on the United States. And like, where does Canada hang its hat next? And one of the ideas was the European Union. I remember that. I don't even think it's a bad idea. I feel like if the European Union would have Canada, which I doubt, but if they would, I would be on board. Canada, like freedom of movement from Canada to Europe, whew, so nice. I would take that opportunity in a second. It would be so nice for us, and also just like the euro, like Canada's currency being tied to the Canada adopting the euro, that would also be great. I don't know. I don't see. I see no downsides to that arrangement. You love the Zerg shirt? Yeah, I am a fan. I'm the kind of guy, and you guys probably, many of you probably already know this, but the Zerg, like I have a type of science fiction alien that I really like, and so I really like the Zerg. I like the Tyranids. I like xenomorphs. I like people would say, although I've never played a Halo game, that I would like the Flood. But yeah, I have a thing. I have a alien archetype that I'm really into. I also really like Dead Space, although I haven't played it, but I barely played it. But I like the concept of the necromorphs and stuff. And yeah, so. A while ago, I remember you discussing that whether Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron, would have supported the Nazis. I don't remember this, but okay. One element that seems to go unmentioned is the signs of growing disillusion at the war and weariness with a severe head injury he played. I think it's unlikely he would be red. But do you think that it would be more likely to attempt to avoid people with a quiet life? Are there other factors that influence him for more such a position, like being a position in a normal family? Although Paul von Litovo-Burick would have told Hitler to go fuck himself. If he would, I don't know anything about the Red Baron, but if he was part of the German nobility, like there was a lot of German nobility that was sort of part of like the conservative, the sort of like old guard conservative that didn't like the creation of the Weimar Republic, and they kind of wanted like they kind of were trying to undermine the Weimar Republic as a concept, and they were sort of represented in the German conservative bloc, and their whole thing, like they allied with Hitler thinking that Hitler would like sort of undo the republic and then they can go back to having an emperor or whatever as responsible. But they basically saw Hitler as like a sort of stooge that could manipulate the masses to kind of do what the sort of old guard imperial conservatives wanted. Would I be ready for Eurovision? Oh man, we had a Eurovision party last year because our close friends who live nearby are German and they had a Eurovision party, and so I already got an idea of what kind of craziness happens there. I don't know if Canada can make weird enough content for Eurovision though. We would have to up our weird game quite a bit. But I mean shit, Australia is in Eurovision. If Australia can be in Eurovision, Canada can be. Is it Australia's entry into Eurovision last year was so based? Yeah, it was. It was like this sort of like 80s sort of synth wave thing. I like that a lot. Although, nothing beats Cha Cha Cha, I think. That was pretty damn good. Is it ableist to assume that John Fetterman's recent right-wing turn is a result of his stroke? Yes, much things affect your brain, but he's clearly working from a common blue dog agenda, and he's far from the first faux progressive elected in politics. Yeah, I don't... Are people saying that it's a result of his stroke? Like, I thought people knew when he got elected that he... Like, people were warning that he was weirdly close with the Israeli lobby. Like, people were like, yeah, he has shitty positions on Israel, but he has good positions on other things, so we're kind of just gonna pull, like, you know... plug our nose and kind of just get them through anyway. So I think that people were surprised less by like him taking such a stance, but more like him like leaning into it so hard. But yeah, it does seem it would be kind of shitty to be like, no, it's not because he had bad takes, it's because he had a stroke, and I'm like, okay, that's not right. You know, it turns out that everybody who goes into politics disappoints you, right? Nobody gets elected and actually does the thing that you want them to do. It seems that once you get there, you kind of get the system gets its claws in you, you immediately, you know, change your tune quite drastically. It's almost as if, that you can't change the system from the inside. It turns out that's not a thing that you can do. Quelle surprise. And in many ways, I think channeling political action into electoral politics is more a way to undermine that movement than to actually give it legitimacy. Like, I think that the second that you are channeling your political energy into electoralism, you are essentially putting all your hopes on people who will not change anything. And that the only real way to change people, like to change policy, is to make the people who have kind of put themselves in power terrified of you. That's sort of my read on it. Because when you put your energy into getting people elected, the first thing you do is you have to start like watering down your message because it needs to appeal to more voters. And you immediately, as you get in, you start getting blasted with this idea that you need to compromise with people who have diametrically opposed positions to get things passed. And then like, you know, you have to work with people, and there's committees and like Robert's rules, and like after a couple years of doing it, all of a sudden all the politicians seem to have like this, who got in on like the most radical of positions, then find themselves like not able to call a genocide when it's screaming at them every single day. The system is like the political system is designed to have people put all of their energy for political change into a person that they then have all of the tools available to basically like smash all radicalism out of it. So in many ways, like electoral politics is designed to, like, from its core, like the idea of electoral politics is to subdue and put down the masses so that the elites can keep doing what they want to do anyway. You know, it's a way to brand looking like you are listening to the people without actually having to do so. There's not really any other thing that electoral politics is designed to do. Yeah. Alright, recently the Navajo got upset about a plan to send human remains to the moon. The Navajo believe the moon is sacred and sending human remains there would be a desecration. How do you think NASA should have responded to that in a non-shitty way if you're either NASA or the company offering the service? One of the atheist podcasts I listen to sometimes praise the CEO for basically telling them to fuck off, which made me kind of uncomfortable. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a complicated question. I saw that story come up recently, and it was actually quite an intriguing story. But because like, I think it speaks a lot to like a lot of questions that we're going to like. It's. I don't know if this is going to go down well, but it kind of speaks to like the way that we have approached our talk about generative AI, in that like a lot of the conversation we're having about it is based around the fact that it's not like a thing that our society is accustomed to yet, and we haven't like sort of developed the ground rules and language around, and haven't really grokked it as a thing in our society, and so people have come with like a bunch of takes that I think are going to look really silly in retrospect, or are going to like not age very well, and that's going to be like, it's going like a lot of like histrionics, like in all directions, you know, people talking about how like the technology is going to revolutionize and save mankind, and how it is like, I wasn't like Ice-T who said it, it's like it's literally demonic, like everything in that range. And it's mostly just because like, you know, it's only like been around in the public for like a year, and we haven't like, you know, we haven't really grokked like it, like its role in society hasn't settled in yet. And this I have a point on this, which is that like this thing with the moon where they're sending a sort of lander that has the cremated remains of several people, including like several people. I think like Gene Roddenberry and stuff is also on there, and they're landing it on the moon. And like it's going to be a way that you can like, you know, these people are putting their loved ones on the moon. Like that's going to be their resting place. And the Navajo Nation is upset about that because, you know, they have this like sacred veneration of the moon, which, you know, not to culturally undermine, but it's like, yeah, it's a thing. But it's interesting because we're kind of, it's sort of, to me, one of the first sort of telltale signs that we are entering into a new phase in the way that we talk about space. Because like, we always like, whenever our like the way that our cultural concept of space works is that with the aside of like, you know, space exploration, all that kind of stuff, like that stuff out there is almost seen as like, you know, like a different universe, like it exists apart from us. And the Navajo, the way that the Navajo are talking about this issue, in some like it makes me think like we're playing with the idea, and our society is getting closer to like mainstreaming this idea of things that are not on Earth being part of the environment, being part of the natural world, just like, you know, places on the Earth are. And, you know, although I saw that the mission got delayed by like 2 or 3 years now, but like this year, was supposed to be the launch of the Artemis 4 mission, which was going to be the first manned mission on the moon since 1971. And, like, you know, the Chinese are already working on a moon mission, and, like, you know, India landed a probe on the moon, like, recently. And I'm thinking about, in the way that I'm thinking about it, like, it's just like, we're getting to a point in civilization where the moon is going to be a location rather than, like, sort of this abstract concept. And this story felt like one of the first, like, real cases of something like that. I don't really have a way to weigh in on what NASA should have done, because like, I don't think the Navajo are going to win this one. The moon is going to be a place where people live at a certain point. People are going to live and die on the moon at some point in the future, and that is kind of just, that's kind of a thing that's just going to happen. And I think it might speak more to, like, the fact that, like, there's going to be a new, like, recontextualization of, like, what, like, you know, stellar objects like the moon actually mean, as they go from being these sort of, like, mythical, these, like, almost mythical things to being, like, real actual places. That's sort of the place that I'm at there. You're against using the moon as a graveyard too soon. Yeah. Using it as a dump even for human remains is another thing. Yeah. Well, I do think that, like, it's going to be, like, the thing is that we are just getting closer to a time where humans are going to, like a non-insignificant amount of humans are going to exist not on Earth. That is a thing that is, like, that is the, you know, we're moving very slowly towards it, but that is a part of the nature of the future of humanity that we are going to have to face. And I think it'll be really interesting, the first, like, as our culture kind of tries to, with our, like, the way that our culture works and the way that it takes us a while for our cultural imagination to really grok things, to understand the moon as an example, as a place. That's going to be the first one, because the moon is like the 2030s, I think, is supposed to be defined by, like, many countries going to the moon and setting up permanent things and, like, that kind of stuff. And, like, it's happening. It's, like, you know, it's almost inevitable, and, like, I'm curious about where that's going to go, and where we can kind of, like, think about that in the longue durée thing, because, like, none of us have had to contend with the fact that no human ever has been able to contend with the fact that, like, except for maybe, like, astronauts, I guess, because, you know, if you work every day, like, there's people who have lived not on the planet Earth for, like, a year, right? So, and the fact that that's going to be more of a thing, I think that it's going to take a lot of, like, our cultural sort of digestion to really grok those ideas and really understand them. You don't think they would have been that dismissive if it was Christians saying it? Probably. I don't know. Atheist podcasts, like, I mean, they can be pretty dismissive of Christians too. So my guess is that, but yeah, I feel like there is a special shittiness in sort of dismissing indigenous spiritual beliefs in a way that, like, even treating it in the same way that you treat, like, Christian beliefs, of, like, there's a difference. There's a contextual difference that is important. Does feel wrong for any one group to claim the moon. Yeah, I think, like, the Outer Space Treaty says, like, you can't really claim territory in space. How well that handles when, like, you know, when space actually becomes, like, a real place where real stuff is happening, that might be a different thing. We're already having a little bit of that when you're talking about, like, geostationary orbits and stuff like that, but I don't know. But you also mentioned another thing too that is going to be weird about how our concept of space and place is going to have to change as humans become, like, more and more humans start not living on Earth. Is, like, the idea that, like, you know, the place you live is fixed is also going to change, right? Because like, yeah, the moon orbits the Earth, right? And that means that like, you know, you might have like, there are people who might be closer to you at one time of day than the other time of day. And I don't know, there's everyone's kind of like, the thing is, and I'm kind of seeing a little bit of this in the chat, in the same way that also like, you know, that also the way I talk about generative AI is like, it's like, yes, okay, like it's very much based on like a lot of the reactionary takes, like a lot of like, I don't like this is bad, like, to me it's like, yeah, it's the fact that our society hasn't digested this new thing yet. And the more interesting conversations I would think about these kinds of things is like, where like in like 10 years or like, you know, 20 years or whatever, when there's like, you know, a permanent group of like, you know, like there's like 100 people on the moon or something like that, and like they've lived there for a while, like what does astral bodies, what do astral bodies mean at that point? You know, what is their concept in our head when they move from like abstract thing in sky to a place that there are people at and that we go to? And I don't know. Yeah. Some atheists like talking as a proxy for shitting on non-white cultures. That is true. That is true. Case in point, yeah, you talk about Islam, yeah, like, case in point, Sam Harris, who, like, advocated fucking nuking the Middle East because they were Muslims. Yeah. Will moon settlers call themselves Moonanites? Man. So that makes me think that they're going to go for the more cool, edgy one, which would be like lunar stuff. Like, they'll be called Lunites or something like that. I don't know. Or it's a reference to a show. Okay. All right. It Can Happen Here recently talked about right-wing Palestine grifters, and how at one point they mentioned is a lot of left-wing outlets, Young Turks, Jacobin Grey Zone, took a sudden right-wing shift because there's a ceiling you can reach attracting a left-wing audience. They need to swing right to attract a larger and more profitable audience. Would you agree with this, or would you say it's more complicated than that? Would I say like maybe? I think that there's some slight complexities, because like in some ways I would say like it does feel overly simplistic to say like that, like Cenk Uygur or whatever, like the Young Turks people, that they sat in on a briefing one day and they're like, well, profits are sort of plateauing. Have we considered doing a right-wing pivot to grift off of them? Like, I don't think it like worked like in that fashion, but there is like, you know, a mentality where like you know, if you very much like, I think that like the position of a creator can sometimes be shaped even in ways that they don't intend by what is successful in like, you know, response. If they say something that ends up being really like that resonates with a bunch of people, and like a bunch of new people start kind of validating it, it's much easier to like have those people, like for those people to feel more positive about those positions. And then sort of, I can see that as like, if like, you know, right-wing grifting results in you getting more validation and more money and like all those kinds of things, that it feels more comfortable in your brain and you feel more validated and moving in that direction. And then, you know, over time things kind of shift and shift and shift, and all of a sudden you're a fucking shitheel because like, you know, the profit motive basically shifted you in that direction. So I do think that, like, you know, even like we all talk high and mighty, but like I think that it's hard for anybody, no matter how principled you are, if like, you know, life-changing amounts of money or things that actually like, you know, like money represents such a massive change to your material conditions and your satisfaction on life. And like even like, you know, you ideally say that you would, you know, you would never ever consider, you know, like besmirching yourself in such a fashion. I think that like it's not unusual for like it's really hard, like even in ways that aren't like intentional, but like psychologically and stuff, for the idea of the offer of money, or like the chance at money, to change the way that you approach things. I think it's the reason why like rich people become so disconnected from humanity and they become so asocial, is because like it shows that like money and status make you less empathetic. And I don't think it's like that like less empathetic people become richer, or that like that like, you know, that like these people are intentionally just like compromising their values in order to make more money. But it's like, you know, it's always like little steps, right? Like it's just more like when like the two decisions are like, do this thing that you think is like the most ethical thing, or do this thing that is less ethical but would make you like make it easier to pay things. It would make it easier for your kids to get through school. It would make it easier for you to pay bills. Faced with that situation, we like to all think that we would, you know, have the moral backbone to stick with our guns, but very often our brains are really good at taking like the thing that is like the economic best choice for us, and then we kind of can retroactively convince ourselves that it's a good idea to take it. We're really good at those kind of like self-justification things. It's like one of the best things that humans are able to do. And I do think that like that could be like, I think that might be that might be more where we're going in the future, you know? Like, so like I think that explains a lot of those like right-wing shifts. I think that what happens is the left moves past where you are, and then when you get mad, the right start encouraging you to move right. Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's the thing too, is that like when I think about like the Young Turks were always kind of like they were never communists or anything like that, but society as like, you know, our economy is like falling apart, and like the younger generations are realizing that like this current economic system has nothing to offer them. Many more people are turning towards like more like explicitly left-wing ideologies, socialism, anarchism, those kinds of things. And a lot of people who were like, you know, considered themselves progressive and like leftists like 15 years ago find themselves like almost being outflanked. And they realize that they're maybe not as progressive as they thought they were. And instead of like, you know, taking that opportunity to introspect and change, they oftentimes will backlash against it and such. But like I remember, as someone who has been like some form of socialist or communist for like I'd probably say like something close to like 20 years at this point. I have also had like to like my expectations go up, because like 20 years ago, you know, Jack Layton was considered like, oh, that guy's really good because like he represents like, you know, a bunch of these like this like change in like priorities and shit like that. And then like today he would be considered like too right-wing because he was actively a force of de-lefting the NDP. Like that was his thing. That was his claim to fame. That's why the NDP keep doing this bullshit they keep doing and losing elections, because they forget that they're a left-wing party. And the second that they think that that they could win an election, they follow like the sort of Jack Layton playbook and start running away from their best ideas, and then they end up losing. Who's your favorite Orisha? I like Ogun. I don't know the Orishas, sadly enough. I don't really... My West African religion knowledge is not the best. All right. Suppose you're finding plastic bottles around that house to recycle, and a 6-year-old sees what you're doing and asks why you're doing it. You say because they're bad for the earth. They say, no, that doesn't make sense. People wouldn't make them if they hurt the earth. How do you respond to that? A podcaster I follow recently had that experience with his kiddo. I mean, I would say, like, there's the money. People realize, like, I think there's like a couple things, which is like sometimes, like, people, for a long time, people didn't realize that plastic bottles were bad for the earth because we didn't think about the earth as like one thing. And then when we did, our society became so used to it that it's really hard to change back because people don't like being told that they can't have things. The other angle I would say is that it's some people just don't care because money. All right, we got one last question. Let's do that. I had an idea for a sci-fi story where an island somewhere on Earth gets replaced with its counterpart from an alternate universe where there's still dinosaurs. Would Canada miss Graham Island much? Given that I don't know what Graham Island is, my guess is no. That sounds like fun. Because when you were talking about a sci-fi story where like an island or something gets swapped for like an island from an alternate universe, my first thought was like, oh man, it would be like a sort of like a Mandela effect thing, you know? Like they're from the universe where everyone says where it was Berenstain or whatever, Berenstein or something. That would be fun. What I'd be very curious about is what happened. Apparently, there are people who live on that island, so you might want to figure out what happens to them. Be a fun, like, you know, B plot. It'd be the people who live on that island who got sucked to Dinosaur World, and they realize that like the thing, that like the whole world is like dinosaurs except for them now. Do you think microplastics are going to be the lead paint / asbestos of this generation? I mean, I think that it would. You're not wrong. I don't know. Like the thing about microplastics that at least I picked up is that we don't exactly know what they do. Is the big thing. Like there's just lots of them, and like we're afraid about what the result of them would be, but we don't actually know what the effect on things are going to be. I don't think. Although I think there's like some thought that it fucks with like your endocrine system, and it means like hormones get thrown out of whack, and it might be like the reason why like fertility rates are going down, like people like, or like not fertility rates, like well, kind of fertility rates, but like sperm counts on average are starting to go down, and like a bunch of like we're seeing a bunch of like weird shit with like sort of more hormone sensitive animals like frogs and stuff like that, like the whole thing with the frogs changing sex and stuff. Those can kind of be a problem, but I wouldn't be surprised. The thing is that like it's the microplastics problem is like intractable. Like I don't even know how you even start fixing something like that. But yeah. All right. Let us call that a stream. So this has been a very real group of streams. I'm sad to see my regular streaming schedule come to an end, but you know, life must move on. So this has been great. One more time though. Fertility rates are going down because get this, child rearing is expensive and keeps getting pricier. Yes, I specifically wanted to say sperm counts. Sperm counts is what I meant. But anyways, yeah. On the topic of sperm counts, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you guys the next time I have time. Peace.